Racquel and I are going to talk about the area of forgiveness. But not only that, we're going to take it one step further and go over some necessary details as to how we can implement forgiveness into our lives so we can move forward in peace and live free. On the topic of relationships and forgiveness.
Yes, wow. Those are two major topics that really go hand in hand. If you want to have a healthy relationship, you're always going to have to be practicing forgiveness. And when I say practicing, it's because we all come from different backgrounds. We have different life experiences, different perspectives, different worldviews. And so at some point in time, we're bound to rub each other the wrong way, or we're bound to butt heads at some point in time. Disagreements, that's not the issue. The issue is, how do we work through them? And how do we choose to treat the other person as we are, having those heated discussions? Do we maintain dignity, the dignity of the other person? Do we set boundaries in which we can have these heated conversations?
Are you talking about friendships, family, romantic? What kind of relationships are you
I'm referring to relationships, like these are principles that can be applied across the board. So it can be like a really good friend that you have. Maybe you have a code word that you can use with your best friend when you feel like, you know what, I'm getting really angry, I'm getting really heated about something. If I say this one code word, my best friend knows me and they'll know, okay, Racquel needs a break. It doesn't mean that we're not going to resolve it. It doesn't mean I
never thought of that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I don't want to hear what they have to say. It just means I know that if I want to maintain their dignity, if I want to be loving, I need to take a break. And when I'm more calm and when they are ready, we're going to come back and we're going to come to a resolution, because our goal is reconciliation and our goal is peace. And I think that's something that can be applied across the board for family relationships, friendships, and definitely romantic relationships.
Transferring all those peacekeeping abilities and having that harmony. I love that.
But I will
healthy
say,
relationships are so important.
Yes, I will say that it does take two people who are willing to uphold those boundaries, those standards.
What if one person is willing and wanting to communicate and the other one, you can't read their mind and they do not want to talk to you?
They don't want to talk to you in that moment, or they don't want to talk to you at all about that issue.
Zero contact.
Okay, so you're no longer in contact.
They want zero contact.
Okay, moving forward, you are now separate. Okay. That I'm just gonna get a better feel for the scenario. Okay. Yeah, so I think that as long as it depends on you, you always want to, you're never responsible for someone else's reactions or actions, but you are responsible for yourself. And you always want to conduct yourself in a way that shows class, that shows respect.
What if we failed in that area?
Then
we love this person or this friend, whether it's a family, friend, romantic, and we want to work things out.
Then we need to be mature and we need to own up to our part, the part that we played in that, and we need to apologize. Whether if the person will pick up our phone calls, we can write a beautiful letter kind of explaining our hearts, the way we feel about them.
But what if they've shut you out of their life? Can you just deal with it internally on your own with forgiveness?
As in you cannot contact them to send them a letter? Definitely, forgiveness is always going to be on your own. That's a process that you work out on your own. It's essentially it's between you and God.
Because a lot of times when people are taking that step to forgive, they're writing that letter, they're picking up the phone, they're waiting and they're aching for a response.
Correct, but that response may never come. Again, as I said, you're not responsible for the way that other person chooses to respond, and reconciliation may not be feasible. Even though it's the desire of your heart, it may not be the desire of their heart, and you need to respect that. I think the most important thing to do, and when I've led people through this, it's really a prayer of release, and it starts something like this. Once you've identified what your hurt is, who has hurt you, and how they specifically have hurt you, write that down. And then you will say a release prayer of forgiveness, something like this. Dear Lord, I choose to forgive state the person's name. 4, state specifically what they have done to hurt you or offend you. Then you will say, Father God, I now... What's wrong?
I'm just laughing because it really does take courage and boldness. And
Oh,
then
it
some of
does.
the blunders and some of the hiccups and some of the mistakes we do, like that's humbling.
Well, this exercise requires humility. But if we want to grow as people, humility is always going to be a part of our DNA. So getting back to the prayer, the second half of that prayer is where you release that to God. And you say, God, I release that hurt, the pain, bitterness, unforgiveness, the right to revenge. Lord, I release that and I give that to you. And instead, I ask, and this is going to be very hard for some, but very necessary. Instead, Lord, I ask that you bless them.
Ooh, yes, bless.
And it hurts.
them.
And I have prayed this prayer myself, so I would never tell you to say something that I have not done myself.
You've gone through this process.
Oh, absolutely. Tears streaming down my face. And sometimes the part that hurt me the most is to ask God to bless the person that has deeply offended me, deeply hurt me, or deeply traumatized me. But it's necessary because I recognize it's not about them. It's about me and God. And it's about me fulfilling the things that I know that I'm called to do. And I'll never be able to become the best version of myself without forgiveness.
What if you don't hear from that person after that letter or after that initiative response?
You can still pray that prayer of forgiveness.
Is there something that releases from you?
Sometimes by virtue of writing the letter and sending it to them, that brings release, and that's good. That for some, that's enough. For others, maybe not. But this is why I highly encourage you praying that
I'm
prayer
part
of
comedian,
release.
so I might write some funny stuff in
No
there.
worries. And this is why you want to pray a prayer of release. And when you say, God, bless them, don't stop there. Be specific. How should God bless them? God, would you bless them in their finances? Would you cause them to prosper in everything that they put their hands to? Health. God, would you bless them in their health? I pray that they would be strong and healthy and prospering.
That's an abundant mentality.
Yes, it is. Do you know why?
It'll release blessings on you.
Because we're generous people. We're not stingy. We're not stingy with blessings. We're not stingy with generosity. We are generous people. And that's why you have the courage within you, as hard as it may be, to bless somebody who has hurt you and to bless them abundantly. But don't stop there. Don't stop with their health and their finances. Pray that God blesses them in their career. Pray that God blesses them in their family, in their marriage, if they are married, if they're not married, that God would bless them in their future marriage.
What happened to your heart when you're praying this?
It was very freeing.
Okay.
It hurt, it was difficult, and I didn't want to necessarily do it. And some days, all I could say, and I want to add that sometimes it's a prayer that you have to pray more than once. Just because you pray it one time, for your healing.
Okay.
So sometimes just because you pray it today doesn't mean tomorrow you're not going to be angry again. Walk through these steps, pray it again, and eventually you'll get to a point where you really mean the things that you are saying, and they no longer have a hold on you. And that is the most freeing thing.
I think when we verbalize and communicate what's on our heart and tell them our feelings, it is freeing.
It is. Because it's not contingent upon how they're going to choose to respond. It's a release for you to say, I've stated my piece. I've spoken my truth. I have maintained integrity and dignity throughout this process, and I have honored the person who has chosen to be disrespectful towards me, and that makes you a bigger person. But you are also mature enough to say that their actions towards me, no matter how hurtful, no longer has power over me, and that's freeing.
How do you treat someone with dignity and honor and respect when they have taken something the wrong way and you're trying to treat them with that dignity and respect, but they don't want anything to do with you?
Yes, so sometimes you won't be able to communicate with them anymore, but by virtue of saying that prayer of release, by virtue of blessing them, that is honoring that person. That is showing dignity and respect, whether they know it or not. Because again, it's not about them. It's not about, oh, I prayed for your wicked soul. It's not about that at all. Again, it's between you and God. But by you praying for them and really praying God's blessing on them, you are honoring them. And so as far as it is up to you, you have conducted yourself with integrity, and you should be proud of yourself for that.
Those are some good tips, especially in the moment when you have that burning anger inside of you and you don't know how to handle it, and you don't know, you want to say the right thing, you've said the wrong thing previous,
Sure.
You don't know how to pray, you don't know, what steps to take next. So that's a good idea, to articulate your feelings and your words and tell them.
As much as you can. I recognize that that's not feasible for everyone, nor is it safe for everyone. For some people who have been in very abusive, manipulative, controlling relationships, it may not be safe for you to reach out to that person. Just because you write the letter doesn't mean you have to necessarily send it to them in that regard. Also, you may need to write a letter to somebody who's passed away. Well,
wow,
they're never
that's deep.
They're never going to get that letter, which is why I say that forgiveness is for you. It's not for the person who hurt you. It's for you.
Since then, since different chapters and different series of events have gone on in your life, can you look back and say, wow, like that was so petty compared to what I'm dealing with now, or what lays ahead of me? Is there someone you need to forgive? Well, I invite you to take advantage of doing the exercise mentioned and go through the process. I've been there and I've experienced the joy of releasing and blessing someone. Not easy at first. It's all about us having a great mindset, living free, and moving forward and having an abundant mentality.